This Indiana Pacers versus Oklahoma City Thunder series is really starting to turn up the heat. Game 4 last night was a fantastic battle between these two teams, and it's actually starting to feel like the finals. Like there's no more games after these. This is it. And last night, it was the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander show that was really the difference maker for the Thunder. The Thunder trailed majority of this game. They were behind entering the fourth quarter. All of the stats favored those of the Pacers at home in Indianapolis. But it was this matchup for me. Andrew Nembhard on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander versus Aaron Nesmith on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And the MVP made one of those guys look silly and one of them look like a guy that's stepping up. We'll start with Andrew Nembhard because it was a junkyard game out there between those two guys. Nembhard pressuring Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from baseline to baseline, sideline to sideline, 94 feet. If you looked at Shai when Nembhard was in the game, he was smothered. And that's just how it was. It made Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, frankly, kind of a non-factor for the majority of this ball game. Now, when Nembhard was out with foul trouble after getting a little physical, got some tacky fouls from Scott Foster throughout this one, it was Aaron Nesmith that came into the game. Now, Aaron Nesmith in this series might not be the best matchup for the MVP. He's averaging 5.1 fouls per 36 minutes in this playoff series, which is the highest rate among 82 players who have played at least 175 NBA playoff games. Now, that's probably the biggest reason why he's not a great matchup for the MVP, and it showed last night. Let's take a look at that fourth quarter because that's really where the Thunder caught momentum. And this game felt like it was slipping through the Pacers' fingertips in that fourth quarter. Shai found the matchup he liked, and it was Nesmith before he fouled out. Scored 15 of his 35 points in the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. Thunder got stops on the other end of the floor, scored on their 15 of their final 18 possessions. It was Mark Daigneault that I thought was the genius of Game 4. He used Shai in different ways than he had previously, and I mean that in two main ways. One on offense and two, his minutes. We'll start with number two, his minutes, because Shai's a guy who has pretty good endurance, and after Game 3, that was the big question. Had the Pacers worn out Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? Had the Pacers pace, funny, Pacers pace, but the Pacers speed of play worked up the Thunder enough to where it drained them of their energy? And the simple answer was, well, it's just a matter of how you play it. And that's what Mark Daigneault did in Game 4. He didn't play him in his normal pattern. He had him sub out more for less time rather than subbing out less number of times for longer periods. Gilgeous-Alexander only played 29 minutes through three quarters. Mind you, these are 12-minute quarters, folks. 48-minute game, only playing 29 minutes through three quarters is kind of rare for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So they were stacking it up for the fourth quarter, and that's what really, really helped them walk away with a win. Now, back to number one. He used Shai in so many different ways, and the way I noticed most was as a screener, if you can believe that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP of the league, the point guard of this Thunder team, that's the number one team in the Western Conference, the team that's representing the Western Conference in the NBA Finals, used their star player as a screener. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? It does until you break it down. They used him as a screener, which means he's less ball dominant, which allows the floor to open up for other guys as well. And I thought it was really a two-man pairing between the Thunder's two all-stars. J-Dub, Jalen Williams, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. J-Dub was the ball dominant player in this game and initiating a lot of the offense. And Jalen Williams, who had 27 points last night, looked to get very much so back in his all-star groove. How they worked Shai in was a little interesting because they were getting touch screens from Shai, not big boy screens. You're not going to see like a Grant Williams, a Draymond Green-esque kind of pick from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, more of a touch screen. Kind of like a pick and pop almost, but more like a whiff than it was a pick, if anything. It allowed Williams to either get open and get to the basket or allowed Shai to retreat to the three-point line and ISO, usually on a switch. That's how those switches work in the NBA. They try to get you on the pick and rolls, have the target defender, the top defender, be what the man setting the pick targets. So have those guys switch. So number one on number two on number one kind of thing. There was at least 3 or 4 plays that I remember seeing those two, J-Dub and Shai, work together to get each other open. And that's how a lot of Jalen Williams at the basket buckets came, was a Shai kind of a whiff pick to get the defense confused, take it to the basket, and lay it in. Now, a lot of Shai's were because of Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams getting open off a Shai screen, driving and kicking, or driving and finding Shai in a position like that baseline shot that he hit to basically seal the game. Getting him in those kind of positions, that's what helped Shai get back into his mojo and what helped him score down the stretch in the fourth quarter. And there was other pieces too. Alex Caruso, Chet Holmgren, I thought had a very, very strong game last night. Came up with a double-double, came up with some massive boards and defensively and a lot of moments of truth there at the end. He had a couple of offensive crashes where he was able to get dunks and putbacks, which I thought was a huge momentum swing for the Thunder. And when I say the Thunder weren't in the lead for it wasn't the Thunder's game for the majority. There's stats to back it up. Oklahoma City was 3 for 17 from three-point range and was outscored by 24 points from that three-point line. The Thunder finished with more turnovers than they did assists. Frankly, it was just an ugly game for the Thunder for three quarters. And that being said, for the Pacers, I thought it was mainly just a fourth quarter collapse. It was a masterful game by them for the majority of the first three quarters and some of that fourth quarter too. At the very beginning, they shot 75% from the free throw line. Guys like Benedict Mathurin getting to the line at the end of the game, not being able to make free throws in the clutch moments. Rebounds, they lost the rebound battle by 10. If you don't win the boards, you won't win the game. That's what a lot of coaches will tell you, especially in a finals game when it's 120% effort all night long. It just wasn't their game. And 16 total turnovers, you can't do that in an NBA Finals game. 36 points in the paint to the Thunder's 50. Just not ideal for the Pacers. And to have that 10-point lead and to expect the magic that they've seen so far in these playoffs, but not get it, is a sour feeling. And now opening it back up in a tie series. This is a 2-2 series. Tied 2-2 is a lot different than taking a 3-1 lead and going back to Oklahoma City. And mind you, but both of these fan bases are wild. You're going to see 18,000 people dressed in the same t-shirt in any venue. Either venue you go to, you're going to get that. So having to beat the Pacers and potentially go back and maybe be down 3-2, not a feeling that you want to have. So Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam, those guys, they better be ready for Game 5 in Oklahoma City.